Good afternoon, everyone. This is Norvellcentral coming back at you with another YouTube video. And this time of the recording, I'm actually talking about Amarius Mims. This is something that Florida State fans have really been excited about, just with different topics going on. And Amarius Mims has actually been a prospect that Florida State actually went for in the class of 21. He was actually a five-star prospect out of Georgia. And he was someone that, Alex Atkins kind of battled through thick and thin throughout his recruitment. And he actually released the top 6 in his recruitment right before, a couple weeks before he committed to Georgia officially, but it was Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, Tennessee, Georgia, and Oklahoma. And the biggest thing with him going through this recruiting cycle as it was Georgia was pretty stacked at the offensive line position. We all knew it, but Amarius Mims was one of those prospects that was very good. He could play left tackle or right tackle. He was basically a superstar in high school, and Florida State really stuck through with that recruitment. I know that there was a lot of different things going on in Florida State with the first year of Mike Norvell going 3-6, and that really didn't help causes as much. But, even Amarius Mims, whenever he was going through the process and actually picked Georgia, he basically said that Florida State was his second school. And that really doesn't mean a whole lot, but, in this recruitment, whenever a star player goes to Georgia, doesn't really see a lot of playing time. He's kind of seeing the writing on the wall, and there's a lot of stud guys in front of him, and he really doesn't have an opportunity to shine until later in his career, especially when you're trying to go to the NFL. That is a little bit of a problem. So this is a great instance that Florida State was actually in that position to be number 2 in that spot. So you really have to understand the logistics of that whole situation. But just overall, I think Mims was a very, very good prospect that Alex Atkins was going after. There was a lot of different things that Florida State fans were wanting in Amarius Mims, and this is a prospect that you basically could not miss on. This was a 5-star prospect that Florida State has not really had in quite some time. Never really. And Robert Scott has really paved the way as a 3-star prospect for Florida State at the offensive tackle position. But even going through this offseason, he entered the transfer portal, and that was a significant need for Florida State. This is something that Florida State has got to get done. You look at the offensive tackle position now, you have Robert Scott, you have Darius Washington that's hurt right now. He's going to be missing all of spring, and then also he might be missing a little bit of the summer, but he'll be back before fall from what Mike Norvell had said. You also got to look at a guy like Bless Harris. They brought him in from Lamar. He's actually a redshirt junior. Could be a situation where I thought that he would be able to redshirt and then be able to play his redshirt senior year, which could be beneficial for Florida State going forward there. You maybe even have a guy like Rod Orr that's still developing and processing everything. You even got a guy like Lloyd Willis, who I don't know if is quite ready just yet. Dalton Richardson is another guy. You can keep going on and on with names, but they're not as big as Amarius Mims. So you really have to figure out what you want to do there. And I know NIL was a problem before with a couple of different prospects. And everybody talks about Travis Hunter, the way he went to Jackson State and was able to go through that recruitment. And NIL kind of paved the way there, along with some other relationship factors with Deion Sanders there. But just overall, Florida State had to do a better job with NIL. You're seeing Warpath and also Rising Spear kind of get into conversations there. And even Bud Elliott from 247 Sports actually kind of talked about the different NIL deals with certain different players. And he even talked about that $2 million a year is a great value for a quarterback. So take that as you will. I'm not sure that he gets a $2 million deal, but he is probably a potential top 10 pick. And whether or not, he forms out and pans out that way is a different story. But, it's a position of need for Florida State. You really need to get this done. And I'm hearing that the NIL situation is going to be good for Florida State, but you're also competing against teams like Miami. And they have a booster that is just willing to pay whatever it takes to get him in the program. And I know Florida State really can't compete in terms of that, but you're hoping that relationships pay out with Alex Atkins and Mike Norvell in different places like that. So you're really just hoping that between Florida State and Miami, you're hoping that Florida State kind of gets better in with the relationship part of everything. But we'll definitely see. You got to look at the logistics in with the U247 website. They actually talked about how he was going to be visiting on Thursday. I'm not sure how long that visit's going to be. And the thing is now is you're having to kind of wait and see what Florida State is going to do in that regard, because I'm pretty sure they're probably going to get a visit pretty soon. You would think that Florida State would be kind of in the thick of things with his recruitment. But we'll definitely see. it's going to be very interesting to see how you're going to approach that, because if Miami goes out there and makes a great first impression, what do you do in that situation? I heard a lot of people say they want to be the last visit. And, what do you see with those kind of things? I mean, Florida State desperately needs Mims. And this is probably one of the most pivotal prospects that they've had in quite some time. First was a huge get. Jermaine Johnson was a huge get. We didn't really know that to begin with. You may thought maybe 6 sacks, 5 sacks, but he turned out to have 11 and a half. So there's a lot of different things you can even go there. I mean, Keir Thomas was a big get for us. I mean, they're even just different players that we've had so far in the transfer portal. They've all really been good contributors, but this is the position of need that Florida State has been missing since 2015. So it's been quite some time. I mean, you really don't know what you have in your offensive tackle room. I mean, that's one position where Alex Atkins wants to have 7 or 8 guys that are capable of being able to do that. And you're really looking at the size of this depth and roster you have right now. And you're looking at guys like Robert Scott, Dylan Gibbons, Maurice Smith, Caden Wiles, Bless Harris, Darius Washington. And, you may put in a Schrader, you may put in a Bryson Estes. There's different guys. You maybe can put in a Lloyd Willis. I don't really know. And you're starting to kind of level up, and maybe you even have a true freshman that comes in there and plays significant minutes. You're just trying to figure out what you got to have. I mean, because you saw last season when Florida State's offensive linemen were going down, you really had no depth at the position. So this is a situation where Florida State has got to get prepared. They have to get their NIL deal straight and in order. So whether that be they want to go all out and, do him $2 million a year. I mean, that's a lot. But, I mean, at some point you have to really figure out what you want and what you value. And, Miami's going to come with the paychecks, and, even a team like Ohio State and Texas and different schools like that may come to the mix. But this is probably going to be a quick recruitment. And, money may not be a big thing to him because, he was at Georgia. Georgia's got all the facilities and resources and different things like that. And he's leaving because possibly playing time. You really don't know, and that's the kind of uncertainty that you have in this situation. There's so many reports going out there, conflicting reports saying that Miami's a lock, Florida State's a lock, different teams. But you really have to analyze and figure this thing out, because before, these last couple of days have been just speculation. I mean, this is just kind of garnering interest and seeing where you are in the process with everything. I think Florida State's in a good spot. I mean, in a top 3 position here, specifically top 2 at this point, with Miami also there. But you have to also realize Oregon was in his top 12 with Cristobal, but you have to figure out what you want with Miami there. But overall, I think there's a good place for Florida State going forward there, and I'm really excited to see where Mims ends up with his recruitment. But I really appreciate everyone watching the video today, and I really want to thank everyone for all the love and the support on my YouTube videos. And if anyone has any questions or anything like that, you can also DM me on my Instagram account at norvellcentral or my Twitter account at centralnorvell. If you do have any questions about anything, just feel free to ask them. It's going to be a crazy ride, so buckle up, because the transfer portal crazy season is here. So without further ado, I hope everyone has a great rest of the night. And as always, go Noles.